When it was first released, The Simpsons was a compelling and avant-garde show. It wasn't afraid to challenge social conventions, as well as the tropes of typical storytelling. The Simpsons sought to portray an imperfect family, something undone in media at the time, facing real and difficult challenges. Arguably the most compelling episode happens at the start of the series, in the third episode of the show. This episode, Homer's Odyssey, shows a unique tale in media. In it, Homer loses his job at the power plant, confronts the reality of being an unemployed father of 3, faces nihilism in regard to his identity, then makes an attempt at suicide. The episode is about meaning, our psychological need for work and productivity, and how quickly we lose purpose without work. Charming in its crude early animation, Homer's Odyssey was made by Klasky Csupo during the period when the series was trying to find itself. There is an appeal to the imperfection of the episode, giving the viewer an insight into how The Simpsons developed and found its style. In the episode, Lisa shows Homer alternative jobs to his one at the power plant, but this causes Homer to lament the over-specialization of jobs in modern times. I'm sure many people have been in this situation, being qualified for many roles, but lacking the specific certifications to apply for them. I'm a technical supervisor, not a supervising technician, Homer says, lamenting that he feels like a failure and a disappointment, never having accomplished anything in his life. Going to job interviews, Homer is rejected again and again. After failing to find employment, he descends into depression and develops feelings of worthlessness. He watches daytime television, which tells him he should be at work, not home, which only reinforces his feelings of meaninglessness. Homer goes for comfort at the bar, but like many men, doesn't have the social connections or friends that can support him. He speaks to Moe and asks if his friend can give him a drink on tab, but Moe refuses, saying they're still friends, but he's cynical Homer will ever get another job to be able to repay him. Marge praises Homer for being a good provider and tries to encourage him, but her comments make him feel more useless without the identity of work. Ultimately, the depression of unemployment comes to seriously affect Homer. He stops eating, stares vacantly at the ceiling, and even with his wife and 3 children affirming him, finds little sense in living. He sits around the house accomplishing nothing, becoming couch-ridden and catatonic. For relief, Homer turns to alcohol to pacify himself, finding it his only solace. After seeing an ad for alcohol on television, he searches the house for some, but finds none. In one of the sweetest moments of The Simpsons, while searching the refrigerator, Homer finds a cake his family has made for him. On it, they tell him they love him, that he isn't defined by his job, and that he has value as their father, his identity not simply tied to his work. The episode isn't afraid to show the power of despair. Homer rejects the cake and callously feels none of the sincere love his family expresses to him. He exclaims that he needs money, and in one of the show's darkest moments, thinks of an alternative way to find some. Something they would never portray in a later episode, Homer sneaks into Bart's room and breaks open his piggy bank, searching for money for alcohol. This is one of the most emotional moments of The Simpsons, showing the series' depth and how dynamic animation can be. Homer, finding the meager change still isn't enough to buy anything, feels regret after having done something so terrible. Feeling even more worthless and immoral, he decides his family would be better off without him. He composes a note explaining his intention to kill himself. He tells his family he loves them, in a sincere moment wishing them well, and attempting to pass on some wisdom he had given to him by his father. Here we should acknowledge how few shows, particularly animated ones, ever deal with a topic like this. The show then introduces a little levity. Homer carries a boulder, chaining it to himself like a cement brick, and brings it to a bridge so he can use it to weigh himself down and sink. In characteristic Simpsons humor, an old couple apes at Homer rather than try to help him as he walks off to kill himself. Slowed down too much by the boulder, Homer makes it to the bridge when his family awakens and finds the note, coming to stop him. Seeing them approach, a car hurtles at them and nearly hits them, causing Homer to rush forward to help them. Finding a purpose in this, and doing something to serve his family, not himself, Homer finds a renewed sense of meaning. He resolves in front of them that the city is at fault and should put up a stop sign at the intersection to protect pedestrians. Petitioning the city, Homer actually feels a sense of fulfillment when he succeeds in getting his resolution passed, seeing that he can affect the world and change things for the better. He then becomes a political activist, dedicating himself to safety. His family actually feels pride in him, and Homer's aura grows until he comes to confront Mr. Burns at his power plant, petitioning for more safety precautions to be taken. In the episode's conclusion, Mr. Burns offers the new unprincipled Homer a job, which he accepts, becoming the safety inspector at the power plant. This episode has a very serious theme, which is suicide, and in an animated show, grapples with the questions of meaning and nihilism, and with the sense of worthlessness one feels when one is unemployed. It shows Homer's use of alcohol as a solace, and shows how we find fulfillment in life when we find a purpose we can devote ourselves to.